What is up, uSTADIUM family? We are back with a special little broadcast right now. You're listening to Timeout with uSTADIUM. We got the best crew in the house right now. It's just me and Splash.
Yeah, and Henry behind the stage. So shout out to Henry, shout out to Frankie, and I want to curse the injury gods. Rough day.
You know what they're singing in Pittsburgh right now, right?
Kumbaya.
Oh, what a night. Way down in six. I don't even know the words, but it is a great night for Steelers fans and Browns fans and Bengals fans. It is a terrible night for Ravens fans. We're going to get into all of the injuries surrounding the Baltimore Ravens, which I've never seen injuries this bad going into a season. And I'll tell you why this is going to really screw over the Ravens this season and why they're going to hit the under. And we're going to get into that in our first segment. We're going to give you 3 lock overs and 3 lock unders for the 2021 season. But my man Splash and Henry behind the scenes, we are here. The 2021 NFL season starts tonight. The Cowboys got a bad draw here. They're having to go to Raymond James Stadium to play the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. It looks like the Cowboys are going to get their behind slapped, but we'll see. Crazier things have happened on opening night.
Yes, sir.
Yep, but that'll start on NBC tonight at 8:20. We'll get into that game to kind of wrap up the show. But again, you're listening to Timeout with uSTADIUM. It's Splash and myself. Nick's not in the house right now. Make sure you like the stream. As always, subscribe to the channel. We got super chats. We got super stickers. And we have some super bets that we're about to get into right now.
Yes, sir. I wish I had my wallet with me. Break out a 20.
Yeah, like when you put 50 cents on Italy to win the
hey,
chip.
It worked. Yeah, that worked.
Unbelievable.
Man, you should have seen all the bets I made the other night. I bet 29 unders and then the Baltimore over. So that was exciting.
All right, that's good. That's good. I like it. Splash is getting his money. As the uSTADIUM network climbs up, you're filling up that Chase account. What do you use? Chase, Splash, Bank of America? You're a Bank of America guy.
Delta Community Credit Union.
Oh, typical college kid. Unreal. You're going to find out those banks rob you. You lose a lot of money with those banks. So I'm just letting you know right now. You got to go to Chase because then you could tell them that you lost your credit card when you had a long night and they refund you the money.
I'm not doing that. But yeah, I had a buddy do that once. Not bueno. No bueno on that one.
Hey, that's a part of becoming a grown up.
I'll just be a good spender. It's fine. I dropped $100 in my betting account the other day, and yeah, Baltimore decided to crap the bed today, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get into that next segment. We'll talk about the injuries and why I think it's gonna doom. Speaking of doom, we have a comment by Doom Sports. Shout outs to you. Shout outs to everyone in the chat. Make sure you like the stream. And as always, comment. We'll feature your comments throughout. But yeah, let's get into it right now. We're going to give you 3 lock over bets, myself and Splash. We won't take too long. We don't have much cut up for this. We want to make sure that you're winning some money this 2021 season.
Get that money Manziel, baby.
That's it, baby. I put my first bet in for one of these overs about 20 minutes ago, and I could not believe that after the Ravens lost Gus Edwards and Marcus Peters, that this team's over-under did not change. And who I'm talking about is not the Ravens. They're my under lock, so I gave you one of those 3 already. My over lock, one of the 3, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers last year went 12-4. They won 11 games in a row. There's an extra game in the season. Ben Roethlisberger's back. They drafted Najee Harris. I have no idea how their over-under is at 8.5. I think this is either Vegas knows something I don't, but the Steelers with an extra game in their schedule, starting last year 11-0, that defense is probably going to be on par. Maybe it'll dip a bit. I could see it dipping a bit.
Yeah, they lost Dupree.
Yeah. And their offensive line is shaky. They're starting a rookie 4th rounder at left tackle, which kind of worries me. But with that being said, I would take the Steelers over 8.5 wins. I think that's a lock. I think I just put my bet in. Another team I have on the over is I just think they're going to roll this year. They're just getting better every season, and they have one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. That is the Buffalo Bills. Got them at 11+ wins. And I like that because the Bills, if you look at what they've done this offseason, they've really done a good job of trying to keep that chemistry intact. I think sometimes when teams get a little bit successful, they start to change what they were used to doing previously. So I think the Bills are just going to be better than they were previously.
For sure.
So I think 11 is conservative. And the good thing about the over under 11 is if you hit 11, you get your money back. So they're going to go better than 10-7. The other over I have, and this team is going to be legit this season, and people don't want to realize it. And everyone and all my Jeff fan mob out there is all talking about Zach Wilson, but we all forget about the better maybe rookie quarterback coming into this draft, although I've been all over Zach Wilson's behind this entire time. But the better rookie quarterback, guys and gals, is Trevor Lawrence, which is why I love their weapons. I do like their defense, and I think Urban Meyer doesn't get enough credit for the things he's done in the past and how he runs his ship. So I take the Jaguars over 6.5 wins. Trevor Lawrence, DJ Shark, Laviska Shenault, freaking Splash's BFF. He's about to buy his jersey tomorrow morning. They just have a squad out there. They have Marvin Jones. They have James Robinson. They have a decent offensive line. So I really like what the Jaguars did there. And on defense, they don't get enough love for some of the pieces they have. They got Shaquille Griffin. They have Clavon Chaisson, Miles Jack. And again, Urban Meyer runs a tight-ass ship, and he's a businessman. So those kind of coaches do pretty well for the most part anywhere they go. So 6.5 out of a 17-game schedule, considering you have the Texans in your division, come on. So I like the Jaguars. That's over 6.5.
Yeah.
Splash, if you want to do your overs.
Yeah, I like it too. I do want to touch on Pittsburgh over 8.5. They're just going to win 9 games. It doesn't matter who's on the roster. They could have 53 bags of popcorn. They're going to win 9 games. But my 3 overs, I have the Browns over 10.5. Yeah, believe it. This is a loaded roster. Outside of quarterback, it is the best roster in the AFC. They have 2-star running backs. They have 2-star receivers. Odell is going to go demon time this year. He will be prime Giants Odell, maybe some more. You have a solid group of tight ends. You have the best offensive line in the NFL. You have 5 guys that could be all pros this season. If Wills takes a step up, you have 4 other guys that are going to be all pro caliber. Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. You have Jadeveon Clowney as a number 2 edge, not a number 1 edge. That's important. Linebackers, who cares? And they revitalized that secondary. They went from having Robert Jackson playing significant snaps and guys that I'd never heard of, guys that Browns fans had never heard of starting. And now you go 6 deep. You have Denzel Ward. You have Greg Newsome, first-round pick. You have Greedy Williams. You have Grant Delpit. You have John Johnson, who's a sneaky defensive player of the year candidate. I have him in my all-pro team. And then you also throw in Troy Hill. And Kevin Stefanski was an awesome coach last year. You're building that culture in Cleveland. They are going to roll. They are going to have a 2019 Ravens-esque season. Don't be surprised if they win 14 games and steamroll through people. And that's going to start by them beating the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. My second over, I have the Seattle. Yeah. It's the spreads. Yeah, the spreads, Chiefs by 6.5. I would take Browns by 6.5. I have Seattle over 10. This is another thing. You look at the offense and you say, well, Russell Wilson cooked for a little bit and they got away from it. They're going to let Russ cook this year. They are bringing in Shane Waldron from the Los Angeles Rams to be the offensive coordinator. So you're going to have 3 teams running essentially the same scheme with Shanahan, McVay, and Waldron now. But Russell Wilson.
Schottenheimer was a disaster. That was a good move for Seattle.
Yeah, amen to that. So you have Russell Wilson, a premier deep threat, and DK Metcalf. You have one of the best slot types in Tyler Lockett. And watch out for Dwayne Eskridge as like a kind of gadgety player, kind of end arounds, kind of what Laviska Shenault did last year or what Larry Fitzgerald tried to do with the 2020 Cardinals. But Eskridge is incredibly athletic, and he's going to do that well. They have a solid offensive line. Dwayne Brown is still, Dwayne Brown. Damian Lewis, expect him to take a step up moving forward. And I know you're a big fan of Chris Carson. I haven't been the biggest fan, but at a certain point, running back doesn't matter. Scheme does, and that's a beautiful scheme to run behind. Defensively, I get it, but Jamal Adams is going to take a step back to being an elite safety. He was an elite safety for 2 years with the Jets. He was in my top 20 players for a reason for 2 years. That didn't disappear. It's just first year in a difficult scheme to learn. Bobby Wagner is still there. Jordan Brooks, year 2.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to talk too much about the Seahawks and the defense necessarily. I mean, they forced some turnovers last year, but something about that defense just scares me.
I gotcha, but that's okay. They're going to win 11 games. I think they win the division, which I was all over the Rams and Niners all off season. I had them in a variety of Super Bowl predictions that I made, but I'm on Seattle now. They are going to be elite offensively, and Russell Wilson will win the MVP. Moving on, Tennessee Titans over 9.5. This is one of the dumbest numbers I've ever seen. You play the Texans twice, you play the Jags twice. You win those games, you have 13 games left. You have to win 6 of 13. Like, are you kidding me? They're going to probably sweep the Colts too. They're a significantly better team than the Colts. And I know people will say, well, the defense sucks. I got it. But there is no possible way they regress from being the worst third down defense since the NFL started tracking third downs in 1994. They're the worst. It's not even close. They're going to progress to the mean, kind of like how the 2017 Minnesota Vikings were unreal defensively, but it was just because they never allowed a third down. They're at 24% third down conversion rate. Then the next year, they were still good defensively, but they weren't the same. Nothing changed. They had the same players everywhere, but you just take a step back. You go from 24% to 30%, and boom, you're no longer an elite defense. Titans, same thing. They go from 53% to 47%, and all of a sudden you beat Pittsburgh. You're getting off the field against the Colts. You're getting off the field against Green Bay. You're getting off the field against these teams, and you're winning games. They're going to win 12, maybe even 13 games, and they're going to be a surprise 3 seed in the AFC. So those are my.
You know overs. What? I actually agree with you there. I think as an over, I think Tennessee at 9.5. Now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, are they going to go 9 and 8? I don't think so. They're not going to go 8 and 9. Which, by the way, I can't stand saying still. I just hate this 17-game thing. But what I do think is interesting with this 17-game schedule that I don't think enough people are talking about, I think when the odds makers came out with their little odds spreads, I think this threw them for a loop. I think there's a lot of teams on there that are going to win more than they're over because they kind of just gave them a half of game extra of winning, but they actually have more than a 50% chance of winning that extra game. So thus it takes that half game in your favor as the better. Now, getting into on the other side of the coin, going into our underlocks, getting into that, there are some teams out there that I think a lot of people are talking about and aren't going to perform as well as people think. From my perspective, honestly, obviously I could be wrong, but my first lock under is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots come into this season with a 9.5 win over under projection. I think they're going to hit the under. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced with their offense. I like Mac Jones, but we don't know. Their receivers are terrible. Their tight end, situation is good, but they're hurt. Their running back, Stevenson, just got hurt. I like Damian Harris, but are those good enough weapons to carry an unknown rookie quarterback? The answer to that, from my perspective, is no. Their defense, people want to talk their defense up. I know they were, COVID riddled last year, but I'm not convinced with their defense either. And honestly, they haven't. New England's defense over the last, 5-6 years, they were top of the league in yards allowed numerous times. I think the days of them being this vaunted turnover, forcing defense, bend but don't break kind of style, I think those days are over. I think Belichick's going to get another rude awakening this season with Tom Brady not being in town. So that's my under, my main underlock. My other two, and we'll get into the Ravens in a bit when we talk about the injuries that they had happened today. But I'm going under Ravens 11 wins. I don't know why the sports books haven't even changed. Literally, there's no difference on FanDuel or any of these sites in terms of their over-under mark. The Ravens, with all these injuries, they're not gonna go over 11 wins this year. I mean, their over-under is 11. So if you're a betting person, you're gonna bet that they're gonna go at 12-5. So I'm taking the under with the Ravens for sure. I mean, J.K. Dobbins out, Gus Edwards out, Marcus Peters out, Rashad Bateman, their first round pick, short term IR, L.J. Fort. I mean, the injuries just stack up like crazy. You're starting Le'Veon Bell. I mean,
no, you're not. No, you're not.
My other team under, and I like this team from a talent perspective, but I feel like this is the last year where Coach Zimmer is going to be in town in Minnesota. And I think that whole experiment with Kirk Cousins is going to just boil over and it's done after this season. I think this will be like a cracking point for the Minnesota Vikings. I have them under 8.5 wins. I just don't buy them going 9-8. I could see them going, 6-11 or whatever, 7-9 or 7-10. These stupid schedules now, but I just don't see it. And in fantasy, I stacked up on Minnesota players. I got Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook in one of my leagues. Love those two guys. Love Adam Thielen as well. And I think Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback, but they're just something's up, something's wrong with that team. And I think this is a year where it just cracks the entire Minnesota Viking Kirk Cousins experiment. So I have the Vikings as my third under 8.5 wins.
Yeah, I do. I would lean over on New England. I think that offensive line is incredibly talented. It's up there with Cleveland and Indianapolis and New Orleans as the top 3 or 4 offensive line in the NFL. I understand the reservations with Mac Jones. I get it, but he is the most pro-ready of the quarterbacks, and it takes a long time to go back and find a more pro-ready quarterback than Mac Jones. And he doesn't have the ceiling that Wilson or Lawrence or Fields or Lance has. I get it. That's why he was the 5th quarterback drafted. But he does give you a ceiling, and I think he can run an NFL offense at a high level immediately. And I think he can be a guy that's, the 17th best quarterback in the NFL from day one. And that's good enough to win in New England.
A lot to prove there, Splash.
I know, but he is a guy that I trust.
Nothing's proven. Preseason means a little bit. I don't think it means nothing, but it means very little. So I think
you could.
People are sucking off Mac Jones right now. I think you gotta wait a little bit. I do like how he plays. Not to cut you.
I would say 10-7. 10. That's fine. Baltimore. I would have leaned push. I've talked about it before. They have the hardest, or they have the easiest hard schedule of all time. Every difficult game on their schedule outside of the division is at home. Kansas City, Chargers, Rams, Packers, Vikings, and some other random team. The 6 hardest games of their schedule are at home, so that's beneficial still. And yeah, I don't know, 10-7 still makes sense to me. I'll have to cycle through the roster. I'm really sad with the Marcus Peters injury. And then Minnesota, I've kind of soured on them. I had them originally winning the division, then Rodgers is guaranteed to be back. So they've been kind of dropping down my power rankings, dropping down my schedule predictions, whatever it may be. But I have three picks that are even better, even more of a lock. We're going to start off with the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going to open up their season with a loss on Monday night, and then they're not going to get to their 7.5 win total. This is an atrocious defense. This is a defense that rivals Houston for being incompetent. And Houston just traded one of their better players in Bradley Roby. Vegas has legitimately the worst roster defensively I have ever seen. There is one competent player on that team, and that's Trevon Merrick. He's a 2nd-round pick this year. So last year we watched every rookie outside of Chase Young, really. Outside of Chase Young, every rookie got lapped. Just Patrick Queen was awful. Jeff Okudah was awful. CJ Henderson had one good week, then was awful. It was a train wreck. And if that's the only hope you have, yikes. Max Crosby's whatever, but he's a schemed pass rusher. Yannick Ngakoue is a solid pass rusher, but I don't think either of them are a 1, and you need a 1 to exist. And then offensively, you have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Colton Miller is a good player, but if he's your best player on the line, that's an issue. Alex Leatherwood, I think, is going to be a solid right tackle, and I get that he got killed, or Gruden and Mayock got killed for that pick. I think he's going to be a solid player. Bad offensive line, bad defense. I can't put you at anywhere close to 7 wins. They'll probably go 5-12. Moving on to another bad defense, the Dallas Cowboys, and I will say on the air, they will beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight. But after that, they're going to fall.
Are you confident in that prediction right there? Because the Cowboys are at plus 400 tonight, right?
Yeah, I bet on it earlier in the week. Yeah, I bet on it with even Zach Martin being like up in the air, and I know he's out now, but I think Dallas matches up really well with Tampa, because with Tampa, their strength defensively is depth. And Dallas has 3 superstar wide receivers that can go attack that depth. When you're playing against just Tyreek Hill, guess what? You can bracket him. You can put a guy over the top. You can shade Winfield over. You can shade Whitehead over. Whitehead's out tonight, but you get the idea. But when you have 3 star receivers and they're all on islands, one of them is going to win. And Dak Prescott, I think Dallas is going to come out with a really mature game plan, and they know that Dak isn't 100%. And they're going to say, Dak, you don't have to do a lot of the work. Just a couple throws here or there. We're going to win this game. And I think Dallas will win this game. They're going to fall off a cliff afterwards, because I don't think that's sustainable. But I think they're a good matchup for Tampa. Dallas, 9.5 is ridiculous. This is just Cowboy bias. This is just America's team bias. This is Dak Prescott comeback player of the year bias. This is Ezekiel Elliott isn't washed bias. Ezekiel Elliott is going to have maybe have a solid game tonight. Tampa has an elite run defense, but by week 10, 12, 14, I think Tony Pollard is getting more snaps than Zeke is. So Cowboys fading under 9.5. And my last bet, I don't know how in the world the Carolina Panthers are at 7.5 wins. I
was going to pick them too.
You have a ceiling when you have the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. That's Sam Darnold. I
thought it was Drew Lock. Oh, wait.
No. Drew Lock brings something to the table. Drew Lock can make plays.
All right, you're changing. Okay.
No, Drew Lock will screw you over. He is quarterback 31, but he will screw you over. But the key difference between Darnold and Lock is that Lock can actually make the big play. And he does it at a high level. Look at PFF's big time throw rate. Drew Lock was top 10. Sam Darnold was last. And they're like neck and neck in terms of turnover worthy play percentage. Carson Wentz is often Saturn, and then Locke and Darnold are in the same stratosphere there.
I want to ask you a question. Do you think that the weapons that the Panthers have will do they will do enough justice? Well, they'll hide Sam Darnold this year. I mean, you're surrounding Sam Darnold with some legitimate weapons. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. Mm-hmm. Yes. Those are 3 players right there Marshall that most teams would die for. Terrace Marshall. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a stacked skill position front. And I don't know. I think they're going to hide Darnold this year, those guys.
I agree, but this is when you're going to catch the people that only watch the stats versus those that watch the game. Darnold's not I don't think Darnold is going to be a fundamentally different quarterback, but I will be honest. If Sam Darnold is not QB 32 week 1 and he plays really well against the Jets and he keeps it moving, I will be happy to admit that I'm wrong. I'm happy to see players succeed. But right now, from the 3 years I watched with Darnold and the Jets, I get it. It's the Jets. I get it. It's Gase. But Adam Gase wasn't telling him to throw into double coverage. Adam Gase wasn't telling him to, scramble out of no pressure. Darnold is one of the worst decision makers I've watched as a fan of the game. And I had to watch Jimmy Clausen. I had to watch Ryan Mallett. I had to watch some really bad Ravens quarterbacks the last time they got killed with injuries. So Carolina, if you have one of the worst quarterbacks, if not the single worst, in my opinion, in Sam Darnold, you have a ceiling, and you have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. This rivals the 2019 Jets, the legendarily bad 2019 Jets offensive line. Carolina's not too much better. That is a really, really screwy group. So defensively, they have dudes. Like Brian Burns is awesome, and Jeremy Chin is awesome, and J.C. Horn will be awesome, and I love Derek Brown. But those are a bunch of dudes. That's not a cohesive unit. This is one thing that, say, Tampa does well. They have 10-star players, but
so what do you think? You think Carolina's going to? You think Carolina's due to go 7-10?
No, Carolina's winning 5 games.
Yep. Okay.
I'm confident in that. If Darnold shows improvement, okay, I'm wrong. Congratulations. But as of right now, Darnold is QB 32, and he has not shown at any point he can consistently generate enough positive to outweigh the negative. Locke occasionally does. This is, say, he's very gunslingery. This is what Winston, Fitzpatrick, Favre back in the day. They're going to have the stupid interceptions, but they're going to have enough sprinkled. They're going to have enough special plays sprinkled in. And I know we're all thinking of the same Darnold rollout, and he fires it across his body to Crowder. I agree. That's an unreal throw, and he's one of the few players in the NFL that can make it. And I'm not denying Darnold's talent. There was a reason he was going to go number 1 over Baker until the very last second, but he hasn't shown anything in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you, Splash. I agree with you on most of what you said. And I think what's going on with Jeff fans now is we feel bad for Sam Darnold. And based on some of his comments recently, and we're going to throw up a little clip he had yesterday, when he was asked by reporters if the lack of playmakers and protection with the Jets was the reason for his struggles, he came out and he took the onus of it. We'll play that in 1 second. But I think Jet fans feel bad for Sam Darnold, and we want him to succeed because he's taken the onus of all of the difficulties and the struggles that he had last year. He's taken the blame for it. So look at this clip here.
I do want to address Javier's comment in a second, though.
You didn't have enough playmakers, didn't have enough protection.
No, I think, I didn't do my job to the best of my ability. And I think that's really all there is to it.
Yeah. So you know what, Jeff fans, we like that. We like when you say you were the problem, not the New York media, not Adam Gase, not going into a season with a washed up Le'Veon Bell like the Ravens are about to. We like when you take the blame, and we do feel a little bit bad for Sam, but I do hear you out on that. I think that 7.5 over under is a bit high. But let's get into real highs. We're going to get into the highs of the highs. We're going to give you right now myself. I don't know how to say myself in a pluralistic way, and Nick's season predictions. We're going to go through who we think is going to win MVP, Offensive Player of the Year. Nick's not here, by the way. I'm gonna pretend I'm Nick.
Are you sure I'm not Nick?
I mean, you kind of are. Today you are. You're a little better looking than Nick today, honestly. Hey. I don't know. And Nick's fallen off with his looks. He used to be a hottie. I don't know what happened to him. But we're going to get MVP, Offensive, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Offensive, Defensive Rookie, and we'll give you our Super Bowl matchup, and then we'll go into the Super Bowl matchup that I put together because Nick's not here, and Splash will bash me for it. He'll agree with me. I'm sure you're going to agree with me.
Weren't both of your teams, aren't I pretty high on them anyways?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
But yeah, let's throw that up right now. Let's get this little graph up there. Oh, all right. So for MVP, yeah, I hate when that thing pops up twice. For MVP, Nick has Justin Herbert, which I think is a bit of a reach right there, honestly. But hey, gotta respect it. Herbert had a great rookie season. And I had Russell Wilson, which is who Splash just had. So that is what we're thinking there. Offensive Player of the Year, Nick's going Patrick Mahomes. So they're not going to give Mahomes the MVP. They're going to give it to Herbert, and then they'll give him the Offensive Player of the Year. I'm going with Tyreek Hill. Another Splash fan.
Wide receiver 1, baby.
Yep. Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know what Nick's thinking here. I think Nick Bosa is a stretch. Not after that injury. It's a bit of a reach there. I know Nick's a big Nick Bosa fanboy, But I like mine. I think Myles Garrett is a good one this year. They're going to win a lot of games. The Browns, they'll be on primetime games, and Myles Garrett is arguably the best pass rusher in the NFL. So I think he'll get his due credit there. Splash, thoughts?
I mean, Garrett is the favorite for a reason. It's hard to bet against Aaron Donald, but with Defensive Player of the Year, it's always, one of the top guys. Although I do want to throw out that Peter King said that Justin Madubuike would be third in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and I think he's on crack. God. I'm a huge Madubuike fan, but he is on crack.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked. I was just searching up Madubuike 2021, and first link I see is Peter King thinks he's going to be thinks he's going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Donald, TJ Watt, Justin Madubuike.
That's wild.
Yeah. I don't know.
Comeback Player of the Year. We both stayed in the NFC East. Nick's going with Dacky Dak, which is definitely legit, I think.
Yeah, I'm going with Dak. Unless I'm going with
Saquon. I think Saquon is going to have a big one. Going to have a big year. So I think a lot of people are overlooking him. In my fantasy draft, he won the second round. I don't get why. I think Saquon's going to have a nice year. With all those weapons too in New York, they'll open up some space for him, which is what Saquon needs.
For sure.
Then we went 1-2 here, 1-2 in the 2021 NFL draft. I went with Trevor Lawrence. Nick went with Zach Wilson. So I think both are legitimate picks. Like I was saying earlier today to people and on the show, what I said earlier with Trevor Lawrence, I just think Trevor Lawrence is a little bit getting overlooked coming into this season. Also with considering the weapons that he has, he's going to get yardage. And if they can muster up a few wins and his stat line kind of pops, they'll give him that trophy, the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I do think this is a screwy year because you do have 3 rookie quarterbacks starting week 1, and I would imagine Fields and Lamb are close behind. So I do think Offensive Rookie of the Year talk is going to be bogged down by quarterback, but Najee Harris is up there, and Devontae Smith, I think, is going to be up there with Philadelphia because no one can guard him. I get that he's 170 pounds, but you can't press what you can't touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Splash, what do you think of these Defensive Rookie of the Years right here? I need your take on it.
I actually have money on Nick Bolton, linebacker for the Chiefs, second rounder. It was plus 3,300. I thought that was a solid bet. I do like, is that Zaven Collins? My eyes need to be, okay. Yeah, Collins and Surtain. I don't hate it.
I like Zaven Collins out of college, man. Remember when he got drafted, he called Cliff Kingsbury and they had a little romance going on.
Yeah, I like it. It tends to be linebackers. It tends to be those accumulator types. Like Patrick Queen was in the running last year, even though he was an objectively horrendous NFL player. So even if Collins gets violated in coverage by, I don't know, Shanahan, McVay, or Shane Waldron, who cares? Because he's going to have 125 tackles. So tackle numbers I hate, but hey, if it wins Zaven Collins Defensive Rookie of the Year, he's an awesome player. He is an unreal athlete. There's a lot of great athletes in the NFL. I touched on DK Metcalf earlier. Zaven Collins is a one-of-one athlete. He is way too large to move like he does. He's going to be awesome with Simmons. I do like Surtain, but I do have – I like Nick Bolton this year. I like Bolton.
All right, I just want to answer this question. So, Craig, and shout-outs to everyone in the comments. Keep the comments flowing. We're going to get all your comments shown really soon. So just if you're commenting, we're going to pop them up. And at the end of the show, we'll answer some questions. All right, Craig. I'm not ditching Zach Wilson. I love Zach Wilson. Honestly, I've spoken about him more than I think Splash has spoken about living in Arizona.
Any number of videos. Frankie has like 5 different clips that I've posted that Frankie's big Zach Wilson prediction.
Yeah, every single super chat I've ever sent in my life is about Zach Wilson. And I've sent like 100 of them. So I'm just saying I love Zach Wilson, but I think when push comes to shove and you have to make an analysis as to Offensive Rookie of the Year, considering weapons and stats and wins, it's Trevor Lawrence. And it just seems like that's where it's trending. The number 1 pick, the second coming or an Andrew Luck hybrid. Yeah, generational quarterback, one of the best we've seen since Luck and then before that Elway. So it just seems like they want to give him the award. If they can, they will. Yeah, I took Zach Wilson in our fantasy draft. Everyone was laughing at me. Like they were laughing at me when I drafted Le'Veon Bell. Now who's laughing?
Who got Tyson Williams? Can someone answer that in the chat? Because I know I ended up with
think
3
he's still
Jets
a free
running back.
agent.
No, he got drafted. I would have drafted him otherwise. I do like the Elijah Moore idea. Also, Rondale Moore. He's going to take that I mentioned earlier with the Larry Fitzgerald snaps. Rondale Moore is going to take the Larry Fitzgerald snaps, and Rondale Moore is not geriatric. So he's going to make things happen, and he's going to make some awesome plays in that Arizona offense. But yeah, either Moore I think is a solid one of those like maybe under the radar bet. Elijah Moore as a Jets publication to some degree is not underrated, but he's an incredible talent.
Yep, I agree there. I'm pissed off I didn't get him in fantasy. But moving on to the last award prediction here, we have Coach of the Year. I am going with my man who's going to have a great season for many reasons. We had the Steelers going over 8.5, which I think is insane. The Ravens are crumbling. The Bengals are going to stink again, and the Browns are a little bit overrated because they don't have proper leadership. And Odell Beckham is back, which does not work well for Browns people. You know that, Splash. Every time Odell Beckham is playing, when Odell plays, that locker room gets a little selfish, and they don't play as well. They should have traded Odell Beckham a long time ago, or they should have never have gotten him to begin with.
Nope.
What's the Browns' record with Odell and without him?
That's irrelevant because what you brought in 2020, it has no bearing on what you're doing in 2021. Why? COVID. Why? No chemistry. Baker, he picked it up at the end of the season. He was the best quarterback in the AFC after week 10. He was better than Watson, better than Mahomes, better than Allen. I don't care. Fight me on that. He was the best AFC quarterback week 10 to week 17. That was without Odell, and people are going to make the natural assumption, oh, well, he stopped forcing it to Odell. The problem was
that's
Baker.
True. No,
that's the wrong assumption. The problem was Baker wasn't throwing to Odell. Odell is still an elite route runner. He still gets open deep. He is awesome. There's nothing to complain
about, bro.
No, watch the film. There is nothing wrong with Odell Beckham. It is Baker Mayfield. He was hesitant to throw the ball down the field to Odell because he had never played with a receiver as talented as Odell. Remember, his number one receiver in college was Hollywood Brown. Very different receiver from Odell. Odell was open. He was burning Marlon Humphrey. He was burning Marcus Peters, whomever it may have been early in the season. Baker wasn't comfortable making that throw, but you saw it. There's one specific throw he had against Tennessee that he hit Rashad Higgins on like a post corner. Odell ran that route a million times and never got targeted, but he hit Higgins on that, and that's when it clicked. And Baker was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL down the stretch. So people will say, oh, he force-fed it to Odell. Odell's a diva. No, everyone in that Browns locker room loves Odell, and Baker wasn't throwing to Odell enough. No, Baker was not throwing to Odell enough.
I think if you really knew the situation with how people felt about Odell, not what people are saying about Odell, I don't think he's a very likable character. I know this being in New York and knowing about his ways with the Giants. Odell Beckham's not someone that people really actually like. They say to the media they like him, and he's a great talent, but when he got hurt and that ankle injury slowed him down just a half inch, that 1/2 inch step is a difference in football between you're tackled, you're not tackled. You're tackled, you're not tackled. That's the difference in football. It's a 1/2 inch. He lost that step, and he lost his way. Odell Beckham's not a leader. He's not a good teammate. He's not a good red zone threat.
Ooh,
and he's slower than he was and less explosive than he was with the Giants. And he's a small body. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Guys at home, flip on the tape, buy NFL Game Pass, watch some of the Browns games last year before the Odell injury and after the Odell injury. And you look at, say, Hollywood Higgins running those routes. That's Odell running the routes, and Baker was comfortable throwing that ball. Odell is a better player than Hollywood Higgins. We know this. And Odell was still getting open deep. He was still beating some of the best corners in the game. Again, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, week 1. He was still doing the Odell things. He just wasn't getting targeted because Baker wasn't comfortable throwing the football. That's my take. I think Odell's going to have an awesome year.
Very convenient explanation there, Splash.
How is that convenient?
All right, so we're going to get into our Super Bowl predictions now. And I'm going to give you the lock Super Bowl prediction right now. I did a lot of research on this when I was on the Stairmaster about 4 hours ago. The team that will win the Super Bowl, I will tell you after I give you the matchup. This is the matchup right here. Henry? Oh,
Henry, what are you
boy.
doing?
Henry, what's
Fired.
up, bro? All right, we got it up. This is the matchup I'm expecting in this year's Super Bowl. I think the Tennessee Titans are primed to go to the Super Bowl. I think Derrick Henry's not going to lose anything from what he did last year and the year before that. With the addition of Julio Jones, with how they shored up some elements to their offensive line and added some depth there, I think the Tennessee Titans are a team to reckon with in the AFC. I think in a matchup, and I was just thinking, Titans versus Chiefs, what's going to happen in that game? I think Derrick Henry runs wild. Derrick Henry is someone who trains at an elite level. So a lot of people expect him to fall off. I don't see it with A.J. Brown and Julio out there, and I like what Ryan Tannehill does. I love Mike Vrabel as a head coach. I think he fits the personality of that city and that team perfectly. I see Tennessee coming out in the AFC. I think they'll be that team that'll play Green Bay. Not much to say about Green Bay. They could have made the Super Bowl last year. They're on their quote-unquote last dance. Aaron Rodgers has to make everything so dramatic and about him all the time. But I do think that the amount of talent they have on that team when it comes to their wide receivers now, if they stay healthy, you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon as their second back, they're going to be able to have a ground and pound bruiser in the playoffs. I think they'll get there, and I think they'll win. I think if I had to, give a prediction who's going to win the Super Bowl this year, I think it's Green Bay. I think Rodgers will stay another year, sign another 1-year deal, and then they're done. But he's done in Green Bay after that. But I think this is the year that he wins in Green Bay. He gets his second Super Bowl. And I always feel like with players like Aaron Rodgers, they're going to finish their careers. They're going to have 2 Super Bowls. I feel like Rodgers is going to have more than one.
Peyton.
Yeah,
like Peyton kind of
exactly like they're gonna just get one in a weird year. I think this will be that weird year. Kansas City, it was very hard not to pick them, but I just have some weird feeling about that team with their injuries and it's just tough. They always have something going on with Clyde Edwards-Helaire hurt coming in. Tyreek can get hurt. Mahomes, something smells a little off this year. I think they're gonna obviously maybe have the best record in the AFC, but I'm going Tennessee in the AFC. I like what they're doing there. And I think Green Bay, and I think Green Bay takes it this year.
So I don't actually have an issue with Tennessee as a team. I, of course, chose them in my overs, but I have an issue with the process of picking Tennessee to go to the Super Bowl. I agree with everything you said about Derrick Henry in terms of he is the incredible work ethic. He is going to be in the gym every single day, working his tail off for good reason, and he's awesome. But the issue comes that Derrick Henry has to be the best player on the field for 4 straight weeks, to 3 straight weeks to get to the Super Bowl. There's a very short list of guys that have done that. That is 1997 Terrell Davis. He's in the Hall of Fame. It is Marcus Allen, John Riggins. It is a very short list of guys that just click in the playoffs and go off. And Henry has been an all-time great playoff performer, but then he has the slip up.
You're missing one. I agree with you. You're right, but I think for this year's Titans team, I think you're wrong with this current situation because you have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. So I think that slip-up game that you're talking about, which went in my head as well doing this analysis, that one slip-up game, you'll have Julio and A.J. picking up the slack. That's where they went over the top for me. That Julio acquisition, people aren't putting enough credence, or they're not talking about it enough. Julio coming to Tennessee was a big deal, and people aren't drafting him in fantasy, and they're getting A.J. Brown. Julio Jones is Julio Jones. I know he's older. He's amazing. So that one slip-up game that Henry's going to have in the playoffs, Julio's going to make up for by Tannehill throwing him a ball that's uncatchable for 99% of receivers in the league, and Julio's going to make a catch like he did in the Super Bowl when Atlanta should have beat New England. But
I see what you're saying, but with Tennessee, remember, new offensive coordinator, but they, I think, are going to be so committed to the run that while there will be some plays sprinkled in, that AJ Brown's an awesome receiver. Julio Jones is awesome. I'm not taking any credit away from them. But at a certain point, when you get off script, I don't think Tennessee has that counter punch. And against a team like Kansas City that went in an AFC title game, the biggest game of Derrick Henry's life, 22 carries for 68 yards. Against Kansas City, and that is a porous defensive front. Come on now. So I think Kansas City would win that matchup. Green Bay, I don't have any issues with it. It's just more of, I think Tampa is a better team, and I do think that we're on a collision course for Kansas City, Tampa, deja vu, kind of that Warriors, Cavs sort of deal. And I hate to say that, and I hate to be 12 out of 14 teams are going to return to the playoffs, because I know that never happens. I know my history enough that not everything goes to work as it does. The Bucks are going to have some injuries that they didn't have last year. The Chiefs are going to have some injuries they didn't have last year. It happens. But on paper, they're the most talented team in both conference, and they both have an elite quarterback. So I probably am leaning Bucks Chiefs, as lame as that is. I think the Titans are a fine pick. I don't trust the defense to win in January, and I've said this before. They're going to steamroll teams in the NFL because no one cares about stopping the run game in the regular season. But in the playoffs, there's a reason the Titans haven't been to the Super Bowl. There's a reason the Ravens haven't been to the Super Bowl. Teams game plan for this, and they know their season is on the line, so they're going to stop the run. Buffalo didn't do a very good job of stopping the run, but they did enough, and they contained it. But Tennessee, these running teams kind of run, pun intended, they come to the same issue that they try so hard to lean on that identity. And Derrick Henry is, again, all-time great playoff performer. But when
you're right, but what about Julio Jones and AJ Brown, the best receiving duo in the NFL?
Yes, but
all Tannehill has to do is get them the ball. He has to get the ball out there.
It's hard for Leopard to change its spots. It's hard for the Titans to say, okay, this game's on Tannehill. It's hard because, this is maybe I don't want to say issue, but this is the paradox of Derrick Henry. You have to keep giving him the ball because any touch can be a 90-yard touchdown. Ask Houston, ask Jacksonville. Any touch. And as soon as he gets going, you can't stop him. But the issue is, you have to give him those touches. Look at the Baltimore game in the playoffs. He had 22 touches for 40 yards, or 18 touches for 40 yards. He never got that play. He never got that 10-yard run. He never got going. Tennessee needs that. Just one run. Just one run can break it open. You look at, I'll use the other Baltimore games as an example. Derrick Henry wasn't actually that good in the playoff game, the first playoff game or the 2020 regular season game, but he had that one huge run that everyone remembers and then jacks up his yards per carry, jacks up his production and says, oh yeah, the Ravens can't stop Derrick Henry. Okay, he had one 66-yard run, and other than that, he was 4 yards a carry, which is a yard and a half under what he normally does. Or against the Ravens in the 2020 regular season, he was under 3 yards a carry for most of the game. Then he had a 15-yard run in the fourth quarter, and then had the 29-yard walk-off touchdown. Yeah, you remember those. You don't remember all the times Calais Campbell stuffed him in the backfield.
Yeah, I wish we had the Derrick Henry on Earl Thomas little run he had there.
That's one run out of 25 he had, or one run out of 30 he had in that game.
That's the one that lives in the NFL history books, baby.
I get it, but you got to realize that Henry needs that one play, and if you don't let that play happen,
Splash, every time I see that play, I think of you. Like, what was Splash thinking when he saw Earl Thomas's back to the ball, not knowing what Derrick Henry was?
I was just going to the AFC North group chat and just preparing for the memes. Just at that point, it was a sad day.
All right, let's get this comment right here. So we have Doom Sports. Shout outs to you, man. You've been killing it, or women. I don't know if you're a male or female. You got to be careful these days with that stuff,
For sure.
But shout outs to you in the chat. Everyone in the chat's killing it right now. I have Javi, Noah, Henry, who's producing, and in the chat. You killing it, bro. Craig, you guys are eating Jack. So yeah, keep the chat flowing right now. Let me answer this question. So Julio is still Julio, yes, but Odell sucks. No, but Odell is not somebody that is conducive to a winning locker room culture. That's all I could say. I don't want to get too much into it. let's go.
I disagree.
Guys, I'm going
just
to go
because of
deep into
Jarvis
this. You want me
Landry.
to go to the next topic? I'll go
Yeah,
a
we can
little
go
bit
to the
deep.
next topic because I have a fly around me. Yeah, we can go to the
Let's
next
go-
topic.
let's
I
go
do
a
want to
little
say
bit deep, though.
Jarvis Landry is a.
If you've been in a team locker room in any situation, literally, it could be from freaking softball to
Right.
an NFL locker room. There's always that one guy that is selfish, thinks about themselves, and makes people feel uncomfortable. That is Odell Beckham. Takes away from the vibe. Vibes matter. Energy
I think
matters
it's different
in
in
locker room.
Cleveland.
There's a reason why people loved Shannon Sharp, for example. Shannon Sharp was a great locker room person. There's a reason why he won a Super Bowl
champion.
Yeah, when he left Denver and went to Baltimore, and they wanted him because he adds value to that locker room. And you see Shannon Sharp now; he's a cool, positive guy. And Odell doesn't seem that way. I don't know. And the more players you have in your locker room, like you have Odell, you have Baker, it's just a bunch of guys that are a little bit too selfish. I think that's why I don't see the Browns ever winning outside of getting to the AFC Championship game. I don't ever see the Browns making a Super Bowl with this unit.
I think they're pulling in the same direction, though. You can have your own personalities, but at the end of the day, all of them want to win. And you don't question Baker's competitiveness. You don't question Odell's competitiveness. Yeah, you can say they're a diva. You can say, oh, he does too many commercials. Why does his hair look like ramen noodles? But at the end of the day, they care about winning, and they are incredible competitors. They are going to run through a wall. There's a reason that Baker, the biggest play in the last 25 years of the Browns, Kevin Stefanski drew it up, Maserati, for Baker Mayfield. You have Nick Chubb in that running back, or you have Nick Chubb in that backfield. You have Kareem Hunt in that backfield. You have Jarvis Landry to throw to you. You have your high profile Austin Hooper. But nope, you give it to Baker freaking Mayfield because you trust that he has the swagger, he has the wherewithal, he has the male fortitude to make a play in when it matters. And I think Odell is the same way, that if Odell was on the field, you're going with Odell there. 3rd and 1. If you convert, you're going to the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. If you don't convert, well, you just lost to Pittsburgh. Congratulations. There's a reason they went to Baker on that play, and I get what you're saying, and I would pump the brakes on Browns to the Super Bowl because the Chiefs exist, but I don't see the locker room tension, and I think it's something that winning solves. That with the Giants, that's a horrendously bad organization that somehow has 2 Super Bowls and a 3rd appearance since 2000. It's a bad organization, and it was just the media there too, with being in New York. I think that was just a bad situation all around. Now you drop Odell in Cleveland. This is you're progressing towards a winning organization. Kevin Stefanski is pulling the right strings. The general manager, Andrew Berry, he has been
All
a
right, so
wizard.
Call it right now, Splash. Let's make a little bet on air. How far do the Browns go? Where do you see their little Cinderella 2021 season ending? How's it going to end?
1 possession loss at Arrowhead in the AFC title game.
So they're going to get to the AFC title game.
Yes.
Do you want to put a bet on it? They will not get to the AFC title game.
Who do you have replacing Tennessee?
Got it. Handshake.
Oh,
other way. All right. Okay. All right. So we have a bet now. We will bet there. We will buy each other lunch. So if they get to the AFC title game, I owe you lunch. If they don't, which they're not going to, you're going to buy me lunch. So I'm going to be planning my lunch already for you. It's going to be a big one. We're going to take a commercial break with the option guys. They're going to be hosting our Sunday morning fantasy show. It's going to be lit as fuck. And you definitely want to check that out because they're going to be answering all your over-unders. They know their crap. They'll help you win your fantasy leagues. They'll help you with who to pick up, who to start, who to sit. We had a fantasy draft at uSTADIUM a couple nights ago. I went with the running back 0 strategy. I had the best receivers ever looked at on a fantasy roster of all time. I will share with you all that later. But yeah, let's throw up the option, guys. And we'll be back and we'll talk about why the Ravens are going to implode this season, win probably 6 games, and Splash will be crying tears as the Pittsburgh Steelers probably get to the Super Bowl again.
They're not even just
option, and we're here to tell you guys about our new Sunday morning show, the Pre-Snap, where we're going to be sitting down every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern with you guys live, answering a lot of questions from you guys.
That's right, James. We're going to be giving our best starts and sits of the week. We're going to be answering viewer questions. We're going to have a DFS segment talking about positive and negative matchups, everything that you're going to need to dominate your week.
That's right. So Saturday, we're going to be sending a post out on the uSTADIUM app. You guys are going to be able to put your questions in there. We're going to take a bunch of those questions and answer them on Sunday. And on top of that, on Sunday, we're going to have a live chat going where we're also going to be answering your questions. So definitely tune in on Sundays. You don't want to miss this because if you want to win your championships, we're going to help you guys do it. See you guys Sunday.
Let's go.
These guys eat, man. These
Yeah,
guys
I'm so
eat. They
excited
do a
to
lot
go.
of research, and they're freaking stud muffins when it comes to from a viewership's perspective. So if you want to see some good-looking men, come check out the show Sunday morning. You know,
Yeah, I'm waking up at 8
You don't have to
earlier
look
than
at me
8.
and Splash. You can go look at these two guys on Sunday morning. So I'm just kidding.
Wow,
Splash.
my feelings.
Splash, I love you.
Yeah.
Splash, if it wasn't
Yeah.
for you, I wouldn't be in uSTADIUM anymore. So you kind of kept me here. By the way, on another note, everyone, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but Brianna will be taking a break from the uSTADIUM network. I'm not going to get too much into what happened because it was a pretty weird situation, but in a basic nutshell, because I like to talk about everything, and I'm kind of an open book to my detriment. And if I have a few beers, I'm really an open book, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
Brianna was with uSTADIUM now for about 4 to 5 months. She was awesome. She's a great person. She works hard for the most part, but she's busy. She does a lot of things. What happened was FanDuel had noticed Brianna on our Twitter and on our network. They reached out to her to work with her. Brianna went to work with FanDuel, and she still wanted to work with us at uSTADIUM. She has a show at FanDuel. If you're interested, I would even check it out. I have no when people come and go, I'm never the type of person to say, I never wish bad on anyone. You wish bad on people, it comes back to you always. Brianna's doing stuff with FanDuel. We helped her get out there a little bit out into the wild. Not that she wouldn't have without us, but who knows? But she's at FanDuel now. She's doing a show. There was a couple little issues here and there about, commitments with uSTADIUM. We decided to go in a different direction. We'll be ramping up our network with other talent along the way. And yeah, that's basically how things go. But Brianna, she probably won't be at uSTADIUM anytime soon, but we'll be finding some other people to join the network. So just to get that out there, I know people that are listening, people even in the company want to know what happened. That's basically what happened. So yeah. Actually, in other news, Nick is no longer at uSTADIUM. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, imagine
right.
Timeout with Frankie and Splash. Oh dear.
Yeah, imagine just Timeout. uSTADIUM's not even on it. There's nobody at uSTADIUM on Timeout anymore. It's just Timeout. But yeah, let's get into the news of the day. Let's get into what happened earlier today, which was shocking to me. I didn't even know about all these injuries until I got off a call. So we have the Ravens right now are in the worst situation I've ever seen a team ever in my life. Splash, I've never seen a team go into an off season.
I'll let you go.
Go into a season from an off season with the injuries that the Ravens have right now. And they're bad injuries because they want to run the football. Baltimore needs to run the football. Lamar, read option, that's a part of their game. J.K. Dobbins, done. Today, Gus Edwards, finished for the season. Now, they're arguably their best defensive playmaker, or you could say their best defensive playmaker, Marcus Peters. It's still on the ropes, whether or not it's an ACL.
Marlowe and Peters. It's close.
Marcus Peters looks
Marlon
like
Humphrey led the NFL in forced fumbles last year and had 4 interceptions. How is that lucky?
Forced fumbles. The
He is
corners
punching
aren't
them out. He is.
Marcus Peters is taking interceptions for 6. It's a little bit different.
Okay. I don't think he had a pick 6 last year, but okay. Keep it rolling.
He definitely did.
Did he? I don't think he did.
Well, let's put a lunch bet on that. I'm putting money that Marcus Peters had a pick six last year. Come
All
on,
right.
Splash.
Okay,
let's
let's
go.
see.
Look it up.
Yep. Okay, so 2020 Ravens, and I'll look at their touchdown log. Okay. And while I look that up, I do want to point out that I am devastated by the Marcus Peters injury. There is nothing I can say that will help out the defense. Offensively, though, I do want to throw it out there. So, yeah, the Ravens did not have it at pick six last year. They had 3 scoop and scores, a kickoff return, and then a bunch of Lamar passing touchdowns, and then a bunch of rushing touchdowns. They didn't have a.
Peters had a scoop and score?
No. Wait. No. Fort
Peters
had
had a
one.
defensive touchdown last year.
No, he didn't. Fort had one. Queen had one. Chuck Clark had one. Peters didn't have one.
That's. I don't know why I remember Marcus Peters
3 the year before.
Yeah,
he has like 8 career. So he has 6 career pick sixes and 1 career defense or 1 career scoop and score, but he did not have one last year.
He had 3 pick sixes in 2019.
Yes, 1 with the Rams, 2 with Baltimore.
That's insanity.
Yeah, and he's
most guys most elite cornerbacks don't get that in an entire career. They're lucky if you get 2. Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Yeah, other than Janoris Jenkins. Yeah, so here's my thing. Marcus Peters is perhaps the key of the Ravens defense. It's honestly more than even Humphrey, and Humphrey's a better player. I think we're pretty clear on that. But the role that Peters plays in the defense of being that ball hawk, being that turnover guy is so crucial. And yeah, I know he gets burnt from time to time. I was on the app 2015, 2016 every day and night arguing that Marcus Peters was overrated because he would just get burnt for a bunch of touchdowns. But at this point, I appreciate that. Yeah, he does get burnt, but he makes so many plays, whether it's a pass deflection against Buffalo in 2019, whether it's the pick sixes, and those are huge plays. And Baltimore is a team that feeds on energy that I don't think this is a very good defensive roster, but when they play together, this is say what differs from like Carolina that has talented players, but they don't play well together. Baltimore always plays well together. There are very few awful defensive performances from Baltimore. And it is guys like Humphrey, guys like Peters, and Peters is a trash talker extraordinaire. So that's just some energy that you lose. So Peters is a gut-wrenching blow. It is, I think I said before this show, he is probably the most irreplaceable non-quarterback in the NFL. I think Pittsburgh would have an easier time replacing TJ Watt. I think Cleveland would have an easier time replacing Myles Garrett. You don't replace the playmaking that Peters does. You can scheme up pressure. Baltimore is the perfect example of that. You can scheme up pressure. Pittsburgh can scheme up pressure. Bud Dupree, and they have like 15 guys get 50 sacks a year. But you can't scheme up the swagger that Marcus Peters brings to the secondary. So that is devastating. That I was kind of flimsy on the Baltimore defense to begin with. I don't like the pass rush. The linebackers are awful. For now, Queen and Harrison have potential, but for now they were awful last year. And then the secondary, it's still a deep secondary. And I know everyone that bashed on the Shaun Wade trade, they want to take a victory lap today. And I want to point out that Shaun Wade wouldn't be playing anyways. You know, if Peters had torn his ACL 6 weeks ago, Wade would probably be on the roster, but he would be behind Marlon Humphrey, still there. Jimmy Smith is going to take over as the number 2 outside corner.
What's up with Jimmy Smith? Is Jimmy Smith ever going to be healthy and play more than 4 games in the season?
Yes.
Consecutive games?
Yeah, it's just like it's always like little nagging injuries that he's always questionable. Which would be incredibly annoying if you played fantasy with defensive players. But yeah, Smith is generally healthy. It's just a little neck here. So, and then Anthony Averitt, who got killed by Kansas City a couple years ago, everyone in the organization is high on him. And Wade would be your number 5 or your number 6 corner. So people that are kind of happy, I don't want to say happy, but people that are like saying, I told you so, about trading Shaun Wade. Why are you basking in another team's injury? Like you're missing out on one of the greatest pick 6 artists in NFL history. You're missing out on a guy that I can call Ed Reed with the ball in his hands. but you just want to make a point that, oh yeah, the Ravens got fleeced in a Sean Wade deal. Are you kidding me? That is disgusting to me. But anyways, the more important thing for this conversation is the offense. Yes, Baltimore loves to run the ball. They had 555 carries last year. They had 596 the year before. They run the heck out of the ball. I know they averaged 5.53 yards per carry the last 2 years. That is the number one and number two highest since the merger. But who's the key in that? Who's the RB1, if you will? It's Lamar Jackson. It's not Gus Edwards. It's not Mark Ingram. It's not J.K. Dobbins. It is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the engine of the offense. This means you have an incredibly replaceable running back core. I'm not saying Dobbins is bad. I'm not saying Edwards is bad. I'm not saying 2019 Mark Ingram was a little goofy, but that's beside the point. You did not lose your best runner. That is important. That is the most important part. If Lamar Jackson was the one injured today, throw in the towel. But it's not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, one of the most electrifying players in the history of the NFL, will still be on the field. Keep in mind, in 2018, the Ravens had a bad rushing attack before Lamar Jackson came in. Then he turned rookie Gus Edwards, who was significantly worse than even 2020 Gus Edwards, and Kenneth Dixon, who had been a bum for 3 years. And Alex Collins was gone by then, but that's beside the point. You turned Kenneth Dixon, bad running back, and got rookie undrafted free agent Gus Edwards. This isn't like a second-round pick like Dobbins. That became devastating. That became a team that went 6-1, and if not for a Tyreek Hill miracle, 7-0, and would have been the number one seed in the AFC, starting Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson was a horrendous passer. I don't want to do any revisionist history. He was awful. I had him lower than Sam Darnold. But if there's any position in the NFL that's replaceable, it's running back. And it's particularly in a scheme as not focused on the running back as it is in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson is the eye candy there. He is what makes it 11 on 11. This is why I thought Cam should start in New England, why Fields should start in Chicago, and why Lance should start in San Francisco. Lamar Jackson is a great equalizer. It doesn't matter how good Dobbins, Edwards, whomever, because Lamar Jackson is the engine. And yes, Dobbins would break more runs and break more tackles than Tyson Williams will. I get it. Gus Edwards, same thing. But the baseline that Tyson Williams is going to give, that Lamar Jackson gives you, you can plug in an undrafted free agent. This is why I didn't want Bell. This is why I didn't want Gurley. This is why I didn't want Freeman. This is why I get why you end up bringing him in, because I don't think Tyson Williams is going to be a productive pass catcher. I think Le'Veon Bell can do some things. Trenton Cannon is going to be a special teamer. Freeman, I don't know what he has left in the tank. I get why you bring them in for depth purposes, but I don't think you need a star running back in this scheme. And it's the scheme. It is the Lamar Jackson scheme. It is the Greg Roman scheme. Look at what Shanahan does in San Francisco. How many star running backs have been in the Shanahan scheme? Dating back to his dad. It's Terrell Davis, and that's it. I would argue Trey Sermon is the second best running back, talent-wise, to be in a Shanahan system ever. Trey Sermon, he was a third-round pick. So scheme is the name of the game here. This isn't cornerback. This isn't where Peters is more than the scheme. This is a scheme that Tyson Williams is going to come in, and I think he's going to be relevant for fantasy. I saw a chat question earlier. Yeah, yes, he's going to be relevant for fantasy.
Splash, who's going to be RB2? My mic's been muted, by the way, because I got a disconnection here. Splash, who's going to be RB2? Because you're calling Lamar Jackson RB1. Who's going to be the second best running option for the
Tyson Williams. Tyson Williams, 100%.
So, all right, so we have Doom Sports right here is saying, I'm about to run through a wall for Splash, but then also said before that he wants you to talk about Tyson Williams' fantasy relevancy. We've been talking too much about running backs. We need to get into some other news because the show's wrapping up. What do you think about all right, Splash, Tyson Williams right now? Pick him up in fantasy, yay or nay?
Oh, man, he was rosterable with Gus Edwards in the lineup. Like what you saw,
how good was he in preseason? What's the analysis?
He was really good in preseason.
I'm about to pick him up right now.
The contact balance is there. He is shifty. He can break tackles. He's not much of a receiver, so that's why you bring in a Le'Veon Bell. But
picking him up right now.
Yeah, he's already picked up, and I would have picked him up. I drafted him in several leagues, and these aren't even like 18 team whatever. I think he was rosterable with Gus Edwards because you saw in 2019, you had 1,000 yards from Ingram, 700 yards from Edwards. In 2020, you had 800 yards from Dobbins and 700 yards from Edwards. And that's also with Lamar Jackson there too. And now Tyson Williams, he would have been the Gus Edwards role and would have had 500 to 700 yards. And depending on what week it is, he's relevant for fantasy. And so he should have been rostered anyways. So the people that are frantically picking up Tyson Williams, what are you doing? Why wasn't he drafted in the first place? Why didn't you add him as soon as Dobbins got hurt? Because I know I tried to add him the day that I saw Dobbins get hurt, that Saturday, and I couldn't add him because he wasn't in the ESPN app. I went Tyson Williams, TY''SON Williams, couldn't find him. Couldn't find Baltimore running backs. It was Dobbins and Edwards and Hill. That was it. And maybe Ricard. So Tyson Williams is rosterable. I think he would be a solid flex option. He's an awesome flex option this weekend. Come on now. Las Vegas has no run defense. So start him this week as a flex.
Or as a DraftKings player. That's a good DraftKings buy right there.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
By the way, if you want a DraftKings strategy, I'll get into my strategy really quick, and then we'll wrap up the show with TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
In DraftKings, if you guys want the best strategy, get the 3 best running backs that you can find. Get a really cheap defense. Get a mid-tier quarterback. Get 1 wide receiver that's due for a long touchdown, and then just get the next 2 wide receivers that you think will be okay, like solid.
Mm-hmm.
That's a DraftKings strategy. So 3 really, really good running backs. I'm talking about CMC, Alvin Kamara, and Dalvin Cook. Just stack your freaking running backs. Get the worst defense or bottom 3. Just hope to get lucky. Get a speedy wide receiver like Deshaun Jackson that's due for a bomb, because if Deshaun Jackson gets that bomb well, Will Fuller will be too high. You need someone that's just like Callaway or something.
Marquise Brown?
Potentially, yes. But even lower end.
Jalen Guyton.
There we go.
Yes,
now we're talking.
Yes.
Tight end. Get a whatever tight end you can. But I'm telling you, when you get those 3 running backs and a mid-tier quarterback, you're going to stack up a crap load of points. If your defense could manage some turnover and the wide receiver, the crappy speed one, because you're going to have to get a crappy one with those running backs, gets a touchdown, you're in business. But yeah, let's get into the last news of the day and we'll wrap up. Football is back. If you're listening right now, you're on with Timeout with uSTADIUM. Like, subscribe to the channel. We'll be on throughout the season. I still think we're in the freaking off season. Oh my Lord.
Hey, we are for 3 more hours.
News of the day, the Steelers. Yeah, for real. The Steelers and pass rusher TJ Watt have a mega deal done. He is signing a 4-year, $112 million deal with $28 million per year and $80 million guaranteed. Good for you, TJ. One of the best defensive players in the league.
Good stuff.
Highest paid defensive player in the NFL right now. And the more interesting news potentially is this, and I'm going to pop this up, Henry. I got it here. Steelers. So TJ Watt actually overruled his agents. Super interesting. And because his agents wanted more money, these scummy agents here, they want more money. And so TJ Watt marched into Art Rooney's office and said, let's get this deal done. I don't want my agents to be negotiating anymore. And this is the problem with some NFL agents. They can pull you to the side and request that you don't take less money out of you. You listen to them, a la Le'Veon Bell, and then you get screwed and you end up with the Baltimore Ravens 4 years later. But
I told the Jets not to pick up Le'Veon Bell. That was one of my first articles
said it
I
also.
wrote. Do not answer the doorbell. That was my title.
I agree with you there. I actually was off the Le'Veon Bell bandwagon going into that offseason. I thought he was too much money for the value, not in that Steelers system. It didn't really make sense. But yeah, let's wrap it up now. You guys listening with Timeout with uSTADIUM. I appreciate and we appreciate all the love out there. It's Frankie V and Splash in the house. Henry producing in the background. We had a nice little show here. Tonight, we're not going to preview much of it. Splash thinks the Cowboys are going to win, which I think is insane. Yes. All right, Splash, I owe you a lunch. If the Cowboys win, I don't owe you a lunch. If the Cowboys win, I owe you 2 lunches. If the Bucks win, the lunch is off. Deal? So lunch is off if the Bucks win.
So 2 lunches?
If the Cowboys win, because you think the Cowboys are going to win, so you're +1 on a lunch. Yeah, let's bet a lunch on tonight.
Okay.
All right, and then we have a lunch. We have a lunch for the Browns. So
yeah, and then up a lunch. I got my Visca jersey coming soon.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Also, ring the bell.
It's double or nothing. YouTube, there we go. I'm an idiot. Double or nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got a fantasy question here. Ooh. Do I start DJ Moore or Barkley in the flex? You always start a running back like Saquon Barkley. Although I would be a little bit weary about starting Barkley week 1 when Moore and is a flashy receiver.
Too. And who does Carolina play week 1? Oh, they play the Jets. Duh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why is Barkley in your flex? Why wouldn't he be in your RB1, RB2 holes? That's my question.
Yeah, Blade, why is Barkley in your flex?
Yeah, he was probably your first or second round pick. Why is he not in your RB1, RB2? I think try to do your best to start both of these guys because the Jets have no one in the secondary and Saquon Barkley. Actually, let me rephrase. You have my man, Ashton Davis, in your secondary. I think he's hurt, though.
Oh, my Lord. I'm not looking forward to the secondary this year, but what are you going to do? All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Shout outs to all the people in the chat. Doom Sports. We got Blade out there. Shout outs to Henry, Craig, Noah, all them boys out there.
Tyson. Risky, but I would start Tyson over Henderson. This is one you can wait on. You can wait Sunday, late window, 7 o'clock, 7:30. You can say, you want to start Henderson? This is a totally, if you want that boom potential, if you're down, 25, I would say start Tyson Williams. If you're down like 10 and you want a safe dub, play Henderson.
I traded. So you traded for Barkley. Who'd you trade for, Blade? Put it in the comment. Traded for Barkley. That's crazy. Before week 1. And listen, your running backs are stacked, my man. I would go just go 3-headed monster. Yeah, 3-headed monster, man. You go with Aaron Jones, Antonio Gibson, and Saquon every damn week.
There was someone on the app, Baltimore Alex said that you always start the star in fantasy, and if it bites you, it bites you. But you play the talent here. You bet on the talent. You bet on Saquon Barkley. DJ Moore is awesome, but you bet on Saquon Barkley.
Facts.
Especially.
All right, well, everyone, enjoy your nights. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your NFL nights. They're back, baby. It's Thursday Night Football. I can't believe it's here. It feels like it's been forever since we got any NFL action.
Yes.
We're still in COVID, unfortunately. I don't think that's not going to end for a long time. So don't hope for that anytime soon. But yeah, football's back, baby. Enjoy your families. Be safe. Don't drink too much booze like Splash does. And put some bets in tonight. And the one bet you want to put in is you're not ringing any bells tonight. The only bell you're going to ring is when you put the mortgage on the Pittsburgh Steelers over 8.5 wins.
I agree with you. I don't know why you're rubbing that in my face.
All right, y'all. Timeout with uSTADIUM. We are out. Bam.
Boom.